Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itina Mane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itina Mane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Charine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Paschachadesha Charine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Charine Nirvishesha Asunya Vari Paschacha Yeshata Marine Shri Guru Charana Padma Kebala Pakati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kebala Pakati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mui Savadana Mate Yara Prasade Bhai E Bhavato Riya Ya Yara Prasade Bhai E Bhavato Riya Ya Krishna Prapti Hoya I get Krishna Prapti Hoya I get Guru Mukha Ma Vakya Jite Deko Riya Akya Guru Mukha Padma Anako Yomane Asha Anako Yomane Asha Shiguru cha ranerati eseu tamagati Shiguru cha ranerati eseu tamagati Ye prasade pure sarva asha Ye prasade pure sarva asha Chaksurano dilo ye Jame jame Prabhu say Chaksurano dilo ye Jame jame Prabhu say Dipagan vide praka sito Vide praka sito Oh Dipagan vide praka sito Prema Bhakti Yahate Avijja Vinashaya Bhakti Avijja Vinashaya Prema Bhakti Yahate Avijja Vinashaya Vikaya Racha Rita Kaya Racha Rita Virigaya Racha Rita Shigaru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanada Bandhu Aru Karuna Sindhu Dhammajanada Bandhu Shigaru Karuna Sindhu Adamajanada Bandhu Lokanath Lokiraji Vana Lokanath Lokiraji Vana Prabhu Korodoyo Deo Padachaya Prabhu Korodoyo Deo Padachaya Ebiasa Kushu Tribu Vana Ebias Kushu Tribu Vana Jaya. Abhyasa Kusutripu Vana. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya, Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shil Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhakacharya Asatata Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhakacharya Stotara Sata Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Swadas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Gokul Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Munamai Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to the summer devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Angaranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Bhakti Pradidevi Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Sattvatam O Tulsi, beloved of Krishna, I bow down before you again and again. My desire is to obtain the service of Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as their wishes fulfilled, bestowing your mercy, you make them a resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in the pleasure of groves of Sri Vrindavan Dhamma. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your honored servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise, may I always swim in the love of Sri Radha and Krishna. Haribol. Lasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Nama Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Nama Radha Krishna Seva Babo Veya Bilasi Radha Krishna Seva Babo Veya Bilasi Yetamara Taranaloy Taravancha Purna Hoy Etamara Taranaloy Taravancha Purna Hoy Kripa Kori Korotare Brindavan Navasi Kripa Kori Korotare Vrindavan
kunje diovan morae abilas vilas kunje diovan nayane haribo sada yugala ruparasi nayane haribo sada yugala ruparasi namo namah tulasi Krishna prayasi namo namah tulasi Krishna prayasi namo namah Nivedanadara Sakiru Anugata Koro Nivedanadara Sakiru Anugata Koro Seva Adi Koro Die Koro Nijadasi Devadi Koro Die Koro Nijadasi Namo Namah Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namah Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namah Dina Krishna Dasi Koi Ayena Mora Hoy 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 Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sarayena Vasi 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 Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namo Tulasi Krishna Prayasi Namo Namo Yanika
Jani kanni chapapani brahmachari kanni cha tani tani prana shanti pradasina pade pade yani kanni chapapani brahmachari kanni cha tani tani prana shanti pradasina pade pade yani kanni chapapani brahmachari kanni cha Tani tani prana shanti pradasana pade pade.
Ramo Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Tulsi Devi, 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 Tulsi Devi, Jaya Tulsi, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, 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 Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani. Jaya Rinde, 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 Rinde.
Keshavasya Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavachana Namaha. Jaya Vasudeva, Jaya Keshavasya Vishnu Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavachana
essentially some things cheaper, spike back and forth. I don't want. Some only cost you like 10 or 15. Yes. I can give you some. Just ask me. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari. Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajyakacharya Asatara Sata Sri Srimad Its Divine Grace Desi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dhamma Ki Jai, Mathura Dhamma Ki Jai, Navadvip Mayapur Dhamma Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki Jai, Gangamaya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Or Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvasesa Sanyavadi Paskachade Satarane Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvoitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Panchakalpa Trupascha Kripasindavyavata Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So it's April 17, 2023 in Hillsborough, North Carolina, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 44, text 24 to 25. So we'll just read 24 together. Tataiva mustika purvam swamustya bihatena vai balabhadrena balina talena bihato brisham. Please chant. Talena bihato brisham tataiva mustika purvam swamustya bihatena vai balabhadrena balina talena bihato brisham. Okay, the next verse. Prabhepita sarudhiram udvaman mukatorita vyasu papator vyupaste vatahata ivan gripa. Tata. Also. Eva. Similarly. Mushtika. Purvam. Previously. Swamustya. With his fist. Abhihatena. Who had been struck. By. Indeed. Balabhadrena. By Lord Balaram. Balina. The powerful. Talena. With his palm. Abhihataha. Struck. Brisham. Violently. Pravepita. Trembling. Saha. He mustika. Rudiram. Blood. Udvamam. Vomiting. Mukataha. From his mouth. Arditaha. Tormented. Vyasahu. Lifeless. Papata. He fell. Urvi. Of the earth. Upaste. Unto the lap. Vata. By the wind. Ahataha. Struck down. Eva. Like. Angripaha. A tree. BBT translation. Similarly, Mustika struck Lord Balabhadra with his fist and was slain. Receiving a violent blow from the mighty Lord's palm, the demon trembled all over in great pain, vomited blood, and then fell lifeless onto the ground like a tree blown down by the wind. In Prabhupada's translation in Krishna book, is Mustika also struck Balaram, and Balaram returned the stroke with great force. Mustika began to tremble and vomit blood. Distressed, he gave up his vital force and fell down just as a tree falls down in a hurricane. I'm going to read the commentary of Sanatana Goswami, which is Jiva Goswami has pretty much the same commentary. Mustika struck Balaram with his fist, but was then struck by Balaram's strong palm. Balabhadram Balotrayat. He was called Balarama because of his great power. Bhagavatam 10:2-13. So, what's the context? He was called Balaram because of his great power. 10:2-13. What's the context? Second chapter of the 10th canto. What do you think is happening there? Yes, exactly. Excellent. He was strong by nature. He struck Mustika with the palm of his hand, which displayed that power, Balina. Chanura was compared to a flagstaff falling because he fell from high up. How come Chanura fell from high up? They're in a wrestling arena. Where was the high up place that Chanura fell from? What was Krishna doing with him that he fell from high up? Twirling him around. Yes, very good. Krishna Priya Kita. So Krishna was twirling him up, and therefore he fell from high up, and therefore his falling was compared to a flagstaff. Like if there's a flagstaff, flag falls from high. Mustika fell while standing on the earth. And so what he was compared to was, without looking from today's verse, what is he compared to? A tree blown down by the wind. Tataiva mustika purvam swam mustya bihatena vai balabhadrena balina talena bihato brasam pravepita sarudiram udvamam mukato rita vyasu papa tor vyapyaste vatahata ivan gripa. Similarly, Mustika struck Lord Balabhadra with his fist and was slain. Receiving a violent blow from the mighty Lord's palm, the demon trembled all over in great pain, vomited blood, and then fell lifeless onto the ground like a tree blown down by the wind. Who was here when we had Hurricane Fran? Who was here for Hurricane Fran? Remember the trees? Uprooted. Yeah, I remember it was the hurricane came in the middle of the night and woke me up. It was like 2 a.m. And I remember trying to open the door, and it was hard to open the door because of the wind. And there were big trees. Big trees. First the rain saturates the ground, right? The ground was super, super wet. And then these, you think of little trees being knocked down. Normally we see storms where small trees, like there's some storms where all the branches fall down, right? We see all the branches lying all over the place. And then there's some storms where smallish trees get knocked down. But these were trees, right? Am I right? You all remember? Those of you here? Enormous trees. Like 2.5, 3 feet wide trees. Right, you saw the dirt on the root ball. And they were and I remember opening the door and seeing these huge trees swaying. Like, in a breeze, you'll see smaller trees swaying in a strong wind. But these were huge trees, and they were swaying back and forth, and then they fell over. Yes, it was. It was right after Vyasa Puja. So this is what the falling of Mustika is compared to. A huge tree. But a huge tree is nothing against a hurricane. Hurricane. You may be a huge tree. We never thought never imagined that trees of that size would fall in a storm. Never seen anything like that. And just never imagined that a tree could fall like that in a storm. Wind. I mean, of course, the rain also, by saturating the ground, the roots were loosened. Yes. So this is the power of Balaram. Thought today we would talk about the power of God, particularly with Balaram, but in general with God. So we can see something of the power of God in the power of nature. And we can see something of the power of God in him killing demons, and we can see something of the power of God in him protecting the devotees. And there's a very special power of Balaram of which we are meant to avail ourselves. So in nature, we find here the Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of the works of scriptures and our acharyas use metaphors and similes like this, because nature is very powerful. How did Mustika fall? Like a huge tree in a hurricane. We see the power of nature. Yes? We can see the power of God in nature. Think about the earth. Generally, we think of the earth as just stable. I know when I walk out of my living quarters, I don't want to say my house, I don't have a house. I kind of glorified closet. So when I walk out of my room, right, I figure, I walk in my room that the earth's going to support me, and I walk out, I feel the earth's going to support me. But I've been in mild earthquakes and major earthquakes. Again, knocks down trees, knocks down buildings, knocks down bridges. Volcanoes coming from the earth. Everybody was going about their business in Pompeii. Finished. And then with water, now you want to go to water. Okay, let's go to water, the tsunami. You're strolling along the beach. In a moment, hundreds of thousands of people killed, right? Villages, cities, towns destroyed. But even without a tsunami, right? Just huge waves on the ocean. Anyone here ever got caught in an undertow? I have. I almost died when I was 13, caught in an undertow. We were on vacation in Barbados. And I wasn't out too far. I know how to swim. I had my junior life-saving certificate. But still, the undertow, I got swept up and I was somersaulting and I couldn't stand up. I couldn't breathe. I didn't need a tsunami. So water, I mean, even little drops of water wear away stone. Power of water. We looked at air, earth, water. What about fire? The strength of fire. Knock out forests, buildings, civilizations, earth, water, fire, air. The strength in these material elements. Again, we just, we turn on our stove and we walk on the earth and we breathe air and we use water, and we don't necessarily think about the power behind them. And eventually, the whole planet is destroyed. The whole universe is destroyed. Every ancient culture talks about huge floods. We have a description of huge floods, Matsya Avatar. Fire coming out of the mouths of Anantasesha, who of course is Balaram. And everything's finished. Doesn't matter how strong, how powerful, how whatever. You might think, like with these big trees, that there's no way. There's no way. I mean, never crossed my mind that trees like that. So, we think the earth is stable, the ocean is safe, the trees are safe, but the power of God is such that everything can be finished in a moment. Just the wave comes a little bit further into the shore, the earth moves a little bit, the wind blows a little bit stronger, the fire gets a little bit out of its place, and everything's finished. So these things give us some indication of the power of God. Little indication, little, little. An earthquake somewhere, a hurricane, a tsunami, a wildfire. And all of our power is just finished. There's no defense. There's no fighting back against it. And of course, the Lord uses this power to kill the demons. So I wanted to think about especially demons that Balaram kills. So who are the demons that Balaram kills? Dvidvita gorilla. So he was actually formerly an associate of Lord Ramachandra. And by bad association, he had become demoniac. Actually, each of these pastimes give us so many instructions for ourselves, isn't it? You may be an associate of the Lord, a personal associate of the Lord, and by bad association, you can become fallen, you become demoniac, actually. It said that Dvidvita committed an offense against Lakshman. And the Balaram, who's the same personality as Lakshman, therefore killed him. And Dvidvita was he was committing heinous acts in the whole Mathura Vrindavan area. And then he was offensive to the gopis. Right? He was mooning them and grinning at them. And and being young girls, they were doing exactly what Mother Krishna Priya is doing. She's starting to laugh. The girls were just going, look at that. And Balaram had this big fight with him. That was quite a fight. There were uprooted trees in that fight too, weren't there? Right? There were a whole bunch of uprooted trees. They were throwing mountain peaks. Imagine that. Like mountain peaks. And boulders, and finally, like everything, there were no more trees left and no more boulders left, so they're hitting each other. And that's because, the Lord enjoys these fights. He could obviously kill the demons just instantly, just demon die, dead. Prabhupada often says that Krishna doesn't really have to come to kill the demons. He says, Pritranaya sadhunam vinashaya to duskritam. Vinashaya means to destroy, duskritam. But he doesn't have to appear for that. All he needs is a tsunami or a fire or a hurricane, and, it's not a problem for him. Whatever he thinks, such a sankalpa is immediately accomplished. But he enjoys fighting, just like we enjoy fighting. Some of us may enjoy physical fighting and wrestling, and I enjoy verbal sparring. I like somebody that I can have a good verbal fight with on some philosophical point, right? I was a debater in high school. So we enjoy that sportsmanship of fighting, friendly fight. Some people enjoy actually aggressive fighting. That I don't enjoy. But Krishna enjoys fighting. So Balaram is doing this whole fight with Dvidvita instead of just going, finished. What other demon did Balaram kill? Dhenukasura, and that was very much the way that Krishna killed Chanura, is the whirling technique. Kill them by centrifugal force. Right, and throwing the demons up into the trees. And these demons were in the shape of asses. And they were different colors, and they looked like clouds in the trees. And then they knocked down all the fruit, and it was a great festival, right? And that's also a really cool pastime, how Dhenuka hits Balaram in the chest with his hoof. They do these offensive things, and Balaram just nonchalantly picks him up and swirls him around. All right, what else? What other demons does Balaram kill? Pralambasura. And Pralambasura is also a really nice pastime. Pralambasura disguises himself as a cowherd boy. Now, if you really want to be effective at being a demon, disguise yourself as a devotee. This has been going on from the beginning of time. Just like there are some criminals that dress themselves up as police officers, right? Or there are these scam artists. They call you on the phone and said, "We're calling from the IRS. You're behind on your taxes and you're going to be arrested." Right? And I have a good friend who was confused by one of these scams. Or one of my friends was just confused by, "We're calling you from Amazon. We noticed that there's a $10,000 charge on your account. Did you actually do that?" And it was all a scam. Right? So the criminals, they like to present themselves as something else. So that's what Pralamba did. He looked like a cowherd boy. And of course, Krishna immediately understood, aha, that's a demon. And then they were doing play fighting, right? And then Pralamba was on whose team? Krishna's team. And Krishna's team lost. So the losers had to carry the winners on their backs. So Pralamba was carrying Balaram. He thought, "I'll carry Balaram away from Krishna," right? Because I don't want to try to kill Balaram with Krishna around. That might not work. So he carries him away. And then Pralamba, Balaram's really heavy. And Pralamba couldn't maintain his cowherd boy disguise and carry him at the same time. He just couldn't multitask. He couldn't put out the demon energy of disguise and the energy to carry Balaram. So he assumed his real form, and Balaram goes, "Huh, what happened here? Why is this carrier changed?" Right? And he kills him, and then everybody comes and congratulates him. Actually, it's really nice. There's this one lecture where Prabhupada talks about what is attentive chanting. And he gives the example. He said, when you're chanting, you remember these pastimes of the Lord. He said, like you can remember the pastimes of Krishna instructing Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, or you can remember how Krishna is killing the demon, some demon, and the cowherd boys are encouraging him with claps. So that's also about to happen a few verses from now in this pastime, because the cowherd boys are there in Mathura. And so after all the wrestlers are killed, they all run into the wrestling arena and they start congratulating Krishna and Balaram. So anyway, when Balaram kills Pralamba, all the cowherd boys are saying, "Well done, well done, well done." Yes, so this is, Prabhupada said, you can meditate on this when you're chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, what are some other demons that Balaram kills? Balvala. Remember when Balaram he goes to see the sages, and who doesn't stand up or even say hello? Ramaharshan Sutta. He doesn't even say, "Jai Balaram," what to speak of standing up. He just ignores him. And he wasn't a demon, of course, but Balaram killed him with kushagrass, just struck him with some kushagrass and he was dead. They didn't have a fight. And then the sages said, "Hey, you have to do some penance for this," just to set an example. And there's this demon bothering us, Balvala, and Balaram drags him out of the sky. That was someone falling from the sky. Balaram drags him out of the sky with his plow. I was also thinking how all the expansions of Krishna come from Balaram. So Krishna expands as Balaram, then Balaram expands. So all of our big demon-killing incarnations are all expanded from Balaram, like Nrsingadev. Here you have another example of somebody that you thought would never be defeated by anyone. And we're coming up to Nrsinga Chaturdasi, and I was watching a little bit of the drama rehearsal yesterday. This Hiranyakashipu, like you never thought you could get rid of the guy. Right? After his austerities, Lord Brahma sprinkles him with water from his kamandalu, and his body is like as strong as a lightning bolt. And he has all these benedictions from Lord Brahma. He can't be killed inside, outside, day, night, by man, by animal, by any weapon. And what was it? Land, sea, sky. How are you going to get rid of him? But Nrsingadev was so powerful, right? Stronger than the strong. And Viraha, who's able to carry the earth and kill Hiranyaksha. Saying about Parasaram. all of the, and Krishna says, of wielders of weapons, I am Ram, which means Parasuram. So all the kings of the world who were evil, just right now, do we have a lot of evil political rulers in the world? Definitely. Parasuram went and just killed all of them. There were lakes made out of their blood. Just with an axe, just went around, killed all. And this is the strength of God. Actually, Kalki, who will come at the end of Kali Yuga, Dhumaketum Iva, he's like a comet. So again, you have some comparison to nature. And these comparisons to nature are so we can remember the Lord when we're dealing with nature. Now, hopefully we don't run into tsunamis, earthquakes, hurricanes, wildfires in our daily life. But even we can remember the strength of the Lord. Turn on your stove. Light a match. The power of the Lord. Even a little windstorm. We have little windstorms here that knock down little branches and leaves. And remember the Lord. Turn on the water. Just turn on your faucet. Remember the Lord. The power of water is some indication of this power of the Lord. Power of fire, the power of air. Just walking on the earth. The power of earth. In this way, we can remember the Lord. These analogies are given in the Shastra for two reasons, at least. One reason is so we can picture the scene. What did it look like? What did it feel like when Mustika died? Oh, it felt like and looked like a huge tree. Remember we were talking about how Rupa Goswami says that in every exhibition of rasa, there's some adbhuta, there's some wonder. In all of the other stai bhavs and all the Vaivachari bhavs, there's always some wonder. And I tell you, when I looked out that window at 2 a.m. and saw these trees swaying in the wind and falling over, there was a wow. So part of this kind of analogy is to give us this wow. Wow, Balaram killed Musti. Like a hurricane knocks over a tree that you thought could never be knocked over by anything. It was like that. And the other reason is so we can remember in our daily life, because we're not walking around seeing Balaram killing demons. Yeah? We're walking around seeing the breeze and the earth and the water and the fire in our life. And so it gives us an impetus. These things can act as an impetus that we can remember the Lord in the power of the elements of the earth. And that we can have peace knowing that the Lord does kill all the demoniac elements. Maybe not immediately. Like I'm just now at the part of the Mahabharata, the war has ended, and Vyasadeva comes and tells Dhritarashtra and Gandhari that your son Duryodhana was used as the instrument to have this war that took away the burden from the earth of the demoniac rulers. And how the demigods had gone to the Lord and said, please save the earth planet. But, think of how long that took from the demigods going to the Lord and saying, please remove the burden of the earth, to, the elders appearing, then Krishna appearing, and Krishna being in Vrindavan, and then going to Mathura and Dwarka, and the Pandavas and getting exiled and coming back. There was a long, long time between the time the demigods made that request and the time that the Kurukshetra war actually took place. So it's not always instant. It's not that one just prays to God, my dear Lord, please come with your strength and take away the demoniac, and poof. There may be some time, there may be some setup for various complex reasons, which we don't have time to discuss today. I also wanted to think about the power of the Lord in another kind of way. Just like, as all of you know, we're working on this book, Career Dharma, and we're looking at the 4 different fields of work. And one field is the field of government, and that's the field in which generally Krishna and his incarnations appear in. I mean, sometimes, like Lord Chaitanya appeared in the field of ideas, and Krishna ostensibly, at least in the field of resources. But generally, the Lord comes in the field of government, because the Lord is the supreme king. And this aspect of Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chaduskritam is especially done by government. So the field of government is compared to what part of the universal body of the Lord? The arms. Yeah? Arms. So in English, the word arms also means weapons. If you say he's armed, it doesn't mean that his limbs are intact. The armed assailant doesn't mean that he had these appendages sticking out from his shoulders. It means that there was some kind of weapon. Something, a gun, a knife, a baseball bat. To be armed. Out with security devices, right? When they're turned on, the alarm is armed. But arms are not just weapons. What's the main means we use to care for others? We use our arms. And so those in the field of government, their primary purpose is to use their strength to care. What does Krishna say? I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. Krishna is there when strength is used to protect the weak. The strength of the arms to carry a child, to carry an injured person, to care for people is also a strength of arms. And it's actually the main purpose of those in the field of government, isn't it? To make sure that people have clean water and good, healthy food and good roads and education. So the strength of the Lord is also used to protect the devotees, to care for the devotees. And the main example Rupa Goswami gives of Krishna's quality of strength is his lifting Govardhan Hill. I was just reading how Krishna used his strength to protect Parikshit in the womb from the Brahmastra, which could destroy the universe. Stupid Asvatthama. He was going to blow up the planet he was on. It would blow him up too. And he sends it at Parikshit. I mean, stupid man. Could have a whole class on Asvatthama. Interesting person. And thinking, no, it would be worthwhile. Asvatthama was born in a Brahmin family, born the son of Drona, highly qualified as a Brahmana. And the heinous activities he did were destined and desired by the Lord, because the Lord wanted to remove those personalities who couldn't be killed in a fair fight. And he was empowered by Lord Shiva, but still he was held responsible. He was cursed by the Lord to be sick and in pain and lonely for 3,000 years. And then he becomes one of the Saptarishis. Very interesting. Definitely do a whole in-depth seminar on the lessons from Asvatthama. He became one. He will become one of the Saptarishis after he finishes his course. But anyway, he's such a foolish man. After bringing the heads of Draupadi's sons to Duryodhana, and Duryodhana being fried with him, and Duryodhana said, this is how our dynasty is going to continue. After all, we're all the same dynasty, ultimately. And then the guy goes, after doing that and displeasing Duryodhana, then he goes after Parikshit, who is now the only one to continue the dynasty. But anyway, the Lord used his power to protect. He was using his arms like this. The strength of his arms to hold the embryo, the fetus in his arms, while the Brahmastra is raining around him, and to neutralize the Brahmastra. And similarly, the Lord uses his strength to protect us. Now, it's said that nobody can make advancement without strength, but we're not talking about muscle strength. We're talking about spiritual strength. And that spiritual strength particularly comes from Balaram. And what is that spiritual strength? So, for us English speakers, we have a nice way to remember this. Spiritual strength, two S's. Yes? Spiritual strength. They each start with an S. Yes? And what are the two elements Prabhupada says give us spiritual strength? Also two S's, but these are Sanskrit words. Sadhana and Shraddha. Sadhana and Shraddha. Our practice of bhakti and our faith. These are, well, Prabhupada specifically in talking about Balaram giving spiritual strength. I mean, that's true too. The sadhus also. That's another. But Prabhupada specifically in talking about Balaram giving us spiritual strength, he particularly talks about sadhana and shraddha. Of course, we get our sadhana from the sadhus and we get our shraddha from the sadhus. So if we want our demons killed, I don't know about you, but I have some demons in my heart that are as big as huge trees. Probably you guys just have these little, we pull these weeds from the garden when they're just like 1 centimeter high and we just go. But I've got these huge tree demons. I look at them and I'm like, they're never going to fall. Right? If we have but Balaram with the strength of a hurricane, if we have good sadhana and if we have good shraddha, if we have faith and we are fixed in our practices, then Balaram comes along a lot stronger than Hurricane Fran, and he knocks down our mustikas of our Balabhadra ki! Yeah. Balabhadra ki! Mustika dying ki!
Yeah.
All right. Haribo! Yes,
So I was
Mr.
thinking that
Guru.
Prabhupada also said that during World War II, he actually, when the Japanese were bombing Calcutta, that he saw the bombs as a universal form.
Yes.
So Prabhupada is able to see, or that we can see these things, then we can understand them in the relationship with Krishna.
Yes, Christopher was saying how Prabhupada saw the bombs falling on Calcutta as a universal form. Yes, Rudrani.
The speaker was talking about all these natural calamities.
Yeah.
And how we stand on the ocean by the ocean, for example, and we can be devoured or drowned or whatever. And he was pointing several times throughout the class because he felt it was extremely important to emphasize that how insignificant we are, and we think we're so great, but we're so insignificant.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhagavatam ki jai.
Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Aham Bhajami Enam Kanvam Dhamaravindanalaya Tatam Bhagavatam Shamasitam Buddhasundarakam Tandar Ako Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Adipurusham Tamaham Vajami Andani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyanti Bhakti Kayanti Jira Prakanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Vajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Vajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Vajami Govindam Adipurusham
Page 55. Nita Pada Kamala. Page 55. Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sujitala Ye Jaya Jagata Jurai He Nahi Tabine Bhai Radha Krishna Bhai Tenai Rida Kori Dharonitar Ai Sesambandanahi Jar Brita Chammagelota I want to see it from there. Say Pashuvara Nitai na volilo bhuke Majilo samsara sukhe Vidya kule ki koribe ta Vidya kule ki koribe ta ahankare mata hoya nitai pala pasariya asatyere satya kore mahani Nitayer karuna have Raja Radha Krishna have Daronitai charanukani Daronitai charanukani Nitayar charana satya Tara sevaka nitya Nitayar charana satya Tara sevaka nitya Nitai pada sada koro asha Nitai pada sada koro asha Narottama boroduki Nitai more koro suki Nitnatamma Rakoranga charanera pasha Rakoranga charanera pasha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Goloka Nanda Radha Goloka Nanda Radha Goloka Nanda Sri Radhe Goloka Nanda Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jaya 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 Jaya Sri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe. Gaur Premanandi. So we can read the translation. In this material world, which is progressing toward hell, there's always a blazing fire, and everyone is struggling hard. Therefore, if the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter under the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, which are cooling like the shining of millions of moons. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it will be very difficult to approach Radha Krishna. Anyone who does not establish their relationship with Lord Nityananda is simply spoiling their boon of a human birth in the animal propensities of sense gratification. Never saying the names of Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, they become absorbed in so-called material enjoyment, and their academic education and birth in a high family or great nation will not protect them from the time of death, at the time of death. They have become maddened by false concept of bodily life, and thus they have forgotten their eternal relationship with Lord Nityananda. Such forgetful persons accept the illusory energy as factual. When you achieve the mercy of Lord Nityananda, then you will be able to approach Radha Krishna. Firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are not illusion, they are a fact. and anyone who engages in the transcendental loving service of Lord Nityananda immediately achieves their transcendental position on the spiritual platform, which is eternal and blissful. Therefore, always try to catch the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Narottama Das Thakur says, "My dear Lord Nityananda, I am very unhappy. So I'm praying to you to make me happy. Please keep me in a corner of your lotus feet." Lord Nityananda, Lord Balaram ki jai. Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai.
Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Patitamam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Dordaiva Midrishami Hadjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Bada Kripayata Bhagava Pankaja Stita Duli Sajushim Vachintaya Nayanam Galadashu Daraya Varanam Gadgadaridaya Gira Pulakanishitam Vapukata Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Aslishyavapadam Ratam Panastumam Adarshanam Marmata Karotuva Yatatata Bhavinato Lampato Mat Prananatastu Sevanapara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all trans